The Vatican on discerning the supernatural. At long last, the Vatican is starting to acknowledge the immense escalation of people playing with the supernatural and never testing anything. Their addiction that no one has stopped, but that they're in fact actually allowing to continue, and that the Church is even promoting. However, before they try to tell anyone to discern or test, they need to look at themselves first, as no one there is doing either. The mockery and huge deception that is Medjugorje hasn't been addressed. Instead, they're leaving people to swarm there in their droves, to be deceived and sucked into the biggest deception and work of Satan seen in modern day times. The Pope has even now allowed churches to arrange pilgrimages to take part in Satan's deception. Their new guidelines even say they will allow people to go to such places, so are still encouraging fakery and deception. I have been trying to teach people for many years in my books, videos and blog posts how to test and discern where all that's claimed to be from heaven or the dead really comes from. Sadly, no one listens but a few. Instead, they, the Church and their followers, prefer fakery and mystery with drama. The Church allows anything that brings in big money to them. The fakes do the same. All of it is about money rather than bringing people back to God. No one wants to test. No one wants to believe they're being deceived. No one wants to admit they're addicted to claims of the supernatural, messages from the dead as seen in fakery of spiritualism, or those pretending to prophesy when it is done after seeing events happen, or so generalised that they can be made to fit anything they want it to fit. I have given predictions and prophecies that were given to me to share from what I believe to be heaven. 12 years after publishing those predictions and prophecies that are specific and before they happened, much has already been seen to have come true. People ignore them though. The reason being, they talk of God, the Almighty. They talk of how to discern, how not to trust all that's claimed by so many, how to steer clear of spiritualism and fakery that we see everywhere we look. The sad thing about the Vatican is I doubt any of those leading this have experienced anything supernatural themselves. It's why they're allowing so much. I doubt they know how to discern or test. If they did, Medjugorje would have been broken down and shown how all we hear from there is nothing of heaven in any sense at all. They wouldn't be allowing or encouraging people to go to such places with false claims. The sad thing is, all this fakery of alleged supernatural phenomena is done in stealth by Satan to suck people in and deceive them, to make them think it's real. But this is how Satan works at his best. The fact no one, including the Vatican, tests properly or even knows how to is why we're seeing such a hugely escalating problem that has allowed Satan to roam free wherever he pleases. I find it so sad that the Vatican is also unable to discern, test or expose fakery. I find it even sadder they cannot recognise genuine supernatural phenomena from heaven from the pretended visitations alleging to be from what people irreverently call Mary and Jesus. I find it totally irresponsible they're allowing pilgrimages to such places that they know will be false. It's high time people were told to discern, to test, but until they're shown how, and for as long as Medjugorje is allowed to continue, it shows me the Vatican hasn't a clue in such matters, and they need teaching more than anyone they profess to guide. Our Lady is going to act one day to show those not doing their job properly her anger at allowing this debacle to continue. God is saddened and angered by this lack of testing and discernment. The fakery of pretending his blessed mother is appearing parrot fashion and allegedly gushing nothingness. The increase of addictions in people within religions and in spiritualism, calling so much to be of God or heaven when it's furthest from either, is horrendous beyond belief. We have no real church leaders anymore. We have no real lovers or followers of God anymore. We just have followers of man-made religions who are basically saying anything goes. We were warned God would work to open people's eyes, make them start to question his existence, and to maybe bring him back into lives. I feel he has already started these things we were warned that he'd be doing. However, for many years the church has been very lax at teaching, leading, guiding about God. Instead, they're allowing and even encouraging dramatics of false seers and visionaries who are often acting as though they were in a circus with overly dramatic acts of being overly pious that scream of showmanship rather than the awe and humility that should be seen. They have done nothing to shut any of it down, to expose it as likely being mostly of satanic deceptions. Instead, we've even seen priests and religious galore flock to join in and be deceived as much as those they're meant to lead against such things. None of them tests, none of them listens properly to what's being said, or they'd see it is filled with emptiness. None care to be warned by those with true discernment who have warned about such matters, as it stops their fairy tale world of fantasy and drama. No one listens because they love the circus acts of those alleging to be seers, the generalities that they can make into what they want it to be, despite no basis for any of it. People are addicted to those calling themselves mediums who allege to give messages from the dead, but whose only act is to get people addicted so they come back for more and more and more. As I've said before, where are the fruits? Where is the comfort that allows people to be at peace rather than seeking more and more? Where has anything we've seen or heard brought people back to God? Where has any of this fakery made people en masse change their lives for the better, dig deep within to see their faults, failings, and wish to change to become more as God? Nowhere is the answer. In Medjugorje, we hear of alleged miracles, which Satan loves to mimic to lure people to him. We hear of alleged conversions, but on leaving there, where are the filled churches? Nowhere. Where are the filled seminaries and convents with all those who've said they've been called to the priesthood or to be nuns, monks, friars and the like? Nowhere. If these alleged conversions were true of the many millions who have poured there over the years, those places would be filled to the brim. Instead, the opposite is happening. Those are the real fruits coming from such places. Nothing. The churches are getting emptier and emptier. They're being sold off and closing down. The convents, monasteries and seminaries, the same. By the fruits you shall know them. So where are the fruits of Medjugorje or anywhere else? Where are the fruits of so-called mediums and psychics who are meant to bring comfort and peace and, to use an American word, closure? Nowhere. Instead, they cause addiction to such false practices. All we see from all of this is addiction. Addiction to mediums, psychics, fake seers and visionaries claiming to see people of heaven. People all of whom are happy to perform to an audience with no humility being shown at all. Nothing tangible that is specific or genuine. Nothing that brings anyone to God or a wish to be more like him. How sad is this lure of false promises that's making big money and being famous or well known, trying to lure people into churches under false promises just to fill seats for quantity rather than quality. Satanic deception and money is far more important today than truth, honesty, humility, and anything of God. It's high time the Vatican spoke out properly about such matters, but until they clean up their own act and stop the circus of Medjugorje, of allowing and approving pilgrimages to places with no basis to say they're of anything genuine, then they show they have nothing to teach or guide others in with such matters. They haven't the gift of discernment themselves, and nor have those who have allowed the circus to continue. It is the reasons such as this falseness, greed, and insincerity that sadly caused me to walk away from religion that I used to enjoy being part of. Instead, I now only need God as my guide and teacher, for with Him guiding me, I know I'll be on the right path, as will anyone else being true only to Him and His laws and teachings.